Hello everyone and welcome to some MiSTer FPGA news. In this episode, we will be talking about the progress of the Nintendo 64 core, a new unstable build of the Saturn Core, a beta for Konami's Aliens arcade game, updates on the core that's planned to support Mortal Kombat and Smash TV, and much more. So let's get to it. Regarding the Juno First arcade core that Jimmy Stones is working on, all work has been entirely in simulation. Jimmy recently tried to compile a build for MiSTer, but horizontal blank and sync are giving issues. Colors are also off, so work must be done to fix these issues. Eventually, the game started running on MiSTer, but with some glitches and slowdown. On Twitter, Jimmy Stones frequently posts info on the core development, so I recommend following him there. You can also support Jimmy on Ko-fi. SRG320 announced some new updates to the Saturn Core for the SH704 microcontroller, the SCU, and the VDP2. Some specific games affected by these updates are Kyoku Tiger Plus, Toad King the Spirits 2, Akumaju Dracula X, Panzer Dragoon, Sonic Jam, Tenchi Muyu Rensa Hitsuyu, and Outrun Japan. I know I butchered the pronunciation of some of those games. Also, here are some user experiences for the Saturn Core on the MiSTer FPGA forums. User Krathun says, I tried the new build out. Panzer Dragoon Saga is running now. It does freeze on the cutscenes for some reason. And user Fallon says, feels like the Saturn Core is edging closer and closer to a general release. Saturn Bomberman and Bubble Symphony seem almost perfect, except the crackling background music. It looks like Sonic Jam fully renders now, but there is some kind of audio issue. An unstable build of the core is available for download. I provided the link in the description. I want to highlight some useful MiSTer tools compiled by Wizzo Mafizzo on GitHub. They are called MiSTer extensions and are a list of extensions and utilities to make your MiSTer even better. The tools include BGM, play your own music in the MiSTer menu. BGM is a highly configurable background music player that automatically pauses when you're playing games. Supports many common audio formats including internet radio streams. Favorites. Create and manage shortcuts for your favorite games. Favorites allows you to pick any game or core from your system and automatically generate a shortcut to it in the MiSTer menu. Games menu. Browse your entire collection from the main MiSTer menu. Games menu indexes all your games and generates a set of shortcuts in the menu mirroring your folder layout. Launch sync. Create shareable and subscriptable game playlists. Launch Sync automatically generates working menu shortcuts from custom playlist files with the ability to keep them up to date with the author's live version. Play log, track and report on what games you've been playing on your MiSTer. Random, instantly launch a random game in your collection from the scripts menu. And search, search for launch games from your collection. Searching is fast and great for discovering games. You can get more details and downloads to these extensions on GitHub. We have another preview of the software emulator that the Nintendo 64 core is going to be based on. Robert, the developer, showed off a video of Ocarina of Time running on the emulator. He also playfully says, you can save the world in 3 days, but unfortunately not build a core so fast. I certainly don't mind Robert taking his time with this core. Another post shows the actual speed of the software emulator. The video shows that there are slowdowns and audio stuttering. For the videos that Robert shows us, he speeds them up so they look like they are running full speed. But don't worry, this is normal. Robert's emulator that was the basis for the PlayStation core also ran really slow, and the FPGA core still ended up running at full speed. These software emulators are not actually meant to be used to play games. They help Robert's core development because he develops the emulators to be one-to-one compatible with the FPGA core. The Toaplan 1 core is being revisited. Here, Darren tells us that Rally Bike is now getting past the post check. It uses a different sprite system from other games Darren has worked on, so more work on that needs to be done. Track 17 has also been working on Darren's Toaplan core and helped spot a few things. Now work is being done on the TMS 32010 chip, which was used for sound on Demon's World. The game presented on the Twitter post. After feeling ill, Anton Gale was able to work on the sprites in the Taito System SJ core. The System SJ is arcade hardware by Taito that runs popular games like Elevator Action and Jungle Hunt, among others. Anton, however, looks to be getting Elevator Action working first. Let's hope Anton feels much better soon. A beta core for the arcade game Aliens has been released by Hotego. Aliens is a side-scrolling shooter where you play as Ellen Ripley or Hicks from the movie. You fight aliens with a smart gun and other weapons. Progress through the game until you reach the alien queen to defeat her. Aliens will also be the basis for other games. The core will be called JT Aliens. Other games that are planned to be supported are Super Contra, Thundercross, and Gangbusters. On Patreon, Hotego also talks about different revisions of the Konami CPU. He's always posting about the technical details of the hardware for the games he works on. Again, this Aliens core is a beta core, so it's only available to Patreon subscribers. As soon as the core is stable enough, it will be released to the general public. The JT Kiwi core is now out of beta. This is the core that is based on the hardware for the New Zealand story, so you no longer need to be a Patreon subscriber to download the core. The JT Kiwi core runs games like Extermination, Insector X, of course the New Zealand story, Kageki, and Arkanoid 2 Revenge of Doe. Core developer Darren O has released a core for Jaleco's arcade game RodLand. You can obtain the core by enabling the CoinOp collection database in the Update All script. Robert, who's in the process of developing a Nintendo 64 core, created a DDR3 test core that measures the bandwidth and latency of the D10 Nano's built-in memory and compares that to the Nintendo 64's RD-RAM. Robert posted a detailed article on Patreon about these tests, but he gives us a too long didn't read and said everything will be okay. So at least we know that the memory bandwidth and latency won't be an issue. If you want to try out the DDR3 test yourself, you can download the source from GitHub, build it, and install it on your MiSTer. Or if you're a Patreon subscriber, you can download the RBF from Patreon. That still leaves the issue of the CPU. Robert was asked if a benchmark for the CPU has also been created, and Robert responded by saying he cannot really do that now and needs to implement the full CPU first. For the Williams Y and Z unit core, Pramod has resolved all timing issues with the CPU and the core is finally booting on MiSTer. It's glitchy, but it's important that it boots because Pramod says that at least from here he can work out issues in simulation knowing it will work on the MiSTer platform. Development of this core will help get Narc, Mortal Kombat, Smash TV, and other games running on MiSTer. The next game in the MiSTer FPGA game challenge is Bump and Jump, or as it's known in Japan, Burning Rubber. This is a single credit score challenge that goes until May 26. All scores must be submitted to the MiSTer FPGA Discord. Mr. Retro Wolf has a series of tutorial videos that walks you through developing an FPGA core for MiSTer. You go over everything you need to know to develop a core and also understand how the actual hardware works. If you have any interest in developing the FPGA core, then I highly recommend you go through the tutorial. And even if you have no intention of creating a core, it's still very interesting to learn about the core development process. The core that you will be developing is for the Namco arcade game Tank Battalion. Now, Mr. Retro Wolf is back with a new mini-series on the Z80 chip. The first episode is about the Sega Z80 based arcade game Dotorikon. I probably butchered that name also. This looks to be a more educational series about the hardware because a MiSTer core already exists, but this series will also help you understand how the MiSTer core works. And other miscellaneous MiSTer fixes and updates are, for the Linux distribution, a fix for an EddieMax Wi-Fi adapter was implemented, and NFS version 4 was enabled. For the Game Boy core, there were audio fixes from Mark Johnson. For the PCXT core, add second SD card drive by Kitsune-san. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this means that you can use a second SD card on your MiSTer to mount hard drives and disk images. And also some timing errors were removed. And for the Irem M92 core, flip screen dip switch support was fixed. This affects Lethal Thunder mainly, but it's supported in all games. HQ2X support was also added, and the 240p crop option was removed since the output is already in 240p. That's it for other updates. Please also try to support Sorge, the maintainer of the MiSTer project, and other MiSTer developers and contributors on support platforms such as Patreon and Ko-fi. Their hard work allows us to enjoy this amazing project. So that's it for this episode. I provided links to all my sources in the description. Make sure you also check out retrorgb.com to see my MiSTer news videos in blog form and to get more retro related content. And if possible, support them on Patreon too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button and its bell icon so you can get notified of future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.